Welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come to the Tsugami Rim Sales booth and listen to a little bit of our advancements in technology and a couple of new things in the Tsugami Rim Sales lineup. So what I'd like to talk about first is the machines that are currently in the booth. Just a quick recap. We have the VA2 3-axis mill up on the corner. We have a M08J, which is just an 8-inch chuck, 2-axis lathe with a tailstock. We have a B0206 right up front here that has 6 linear axes. It's a 20-millimeter machine. We have the SS38MH 5-axis. That's a 38-millimeter sliding headstock machine with a full B-axis tool spindle and ATC. The machine, last but not least, is what we're going to be talking about today, is the B0386 Mark III. This is a 38-millimeter 6-axis machine. What makes this machine a little bit unique is the availability to change it to chucker. So we can take out the guide bushing, and in turn that actually makes the machine capable of 42-millimeter bar stock. So we have an oversized 43.6-millimeter spindle bore. This also allows you to run 1.5-inch material or 38-millimeter without having to pre-prep your bar stock. It's a big advancement in the Swiss industry. The other big features of this machine are the overall size. This machine weighs nearly 11,000 pounds. It's got a solid casting underneath. Tsugami's actually removed the electrical panel, moved it to the back to add some more ribs underneath the main spindle for even more rigidity than what Tsugami usually already has. The main spindle has a 3-toggle clamping mechanism for a lot more gripping force to support the 15 horsepower main spindle. So we can take a lot of heavy cuts, bigger drills. This machine is really a workhorse. Subspindle is a 7.5 horsepower. We have 7 stick tools on the front gang slide. We have 7 cross tools, 6 of those being ER16, 1 of them being ER20 for more torque. And we have 8 live tools with a Y-axis down here. Tsugami made all 8 of the tools live on the backworking instead of 4 of them. This adds a lot more capability with the machine. A lot more milling capabilities, and you can actually swap them out and put stick tools in there or round shank tools as well. So that's what I have on the B0386 Mark III. Another thing we want to talk about is the oscillation cutting that's on this machine. Oscillation cutting is a new breakthrough in metal cutting technology. It's become very popular very quickly. What this does is, what we can do is we can time the main spindle rotation with an oscillation of the Z-axis or the X-axis. So what that in turn does on your very hard to cut materials, for example, can I get a show of hands who has cut materials that they couldn't break a chip on? Anybody? Only 2 or 3? Okay, you guys are cutting better materials than me. So a lot of these malleable materials, these 6061 aluminums, the copper, Inconels, plastics that make a ribbony chip, they bird's nest, you have a lot of issues. So by oscillating this axis synchronized with the main spindle rotation, it actually creates almost like an S-curve. And on the next revolution around, the high points become the low points and the low points become the high points, which in turn breaks the chip. And this is happening at a very rapid rate. You can go up to 6,000 RPMs on our machines during oscillation cutting. So you can imagine the frequency that creates when you're actually oscillating an axis at 3 to 4 thousandths per revolution and oscillating all at the same time. Surface finish stays nearly the same. You may have to reduce feed rates a little bit, which is gonna in turn make cycle time a little bit longer. But the benefit of this is your operator can walk away knowing that he doesn't need to stop that machine on an M0 or something like that, open the door to pull chips off with a pair of needle nose pliers or cut his hands or break tools or anything else. You can walk away confidently knowing it's gonna break chips all day long. This is just a software upgrade, no hardware is required. Very popular technology. I recommend anybody looking into this, they can watch the demo run. We're actually cutting 6061 aluminum. We actually have oscillation cutting on the B0206 up in the front here as well. We're cutting 1018 material, cutting a firing pin, which anybody that's ever made a firing pin knows that that material does not want to break a chip either. So please stop by and take a look after the demonstration and we can show you some parts. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the SmartFlex guide bushing. This is available currently for our 32mm machines. What we do, the way this works is a pneumatic system. We have a high pressure pneumatic system and a low pressure pneumatic system. So on a lot of materials that are non-ground, you run into issues with your guide bushing sticking, and you're constantly having to sort bars to bigger or smaller bar stock, measure everything and put them in different lots so you can set your guide bushing properly. So what this helps with is this actual guide bushing is made, it's split all the way down the side. So it can actually move in the front and the back. It can actually open like this, whereas a standard guide bushing is only going to close in the front. So your bar stock, if it's bigger in the back and smaller in the front, your guide bushing can do this. And I'm obviously making it, much more evident. But if your bar stock is 5 thousandths bigger in the back and smaller in the front, it can move like this, and vice versa. You can go this way. There's a pneumatic cylinder on the back and a draw tube. When you set the guide bushing, you screw it down on the bar stock, you loosen it up and put your set screw in, and then you control everything with air pressure. So you can control your low pressure, which is your sliding headstock, and you can control high pressure, which actually clamps the guide bushing like a collet. The benefit of this is huge for people that make long parts and you're doing multiple regrips and feeding through. The typical Swiss procedure for that would be to use the sub spindle, grab the part, unclamp the main spindle, regrip, and then bring your sub spindle back, which ties up time for your sub spindle. By using the brake on the guide bushing, you can actually clamp that material, open up your main spindle collet, back up and grab your material for a regrip, and then open up your guide bushing again and keep feeding. So you don't need to utilize your sub spindle at all, which gives you more throughput and more overlap. The other big benefit of this is roundness. So I cut some 6061 material that was running out of thou and 4/10 and turned the OD, and I got 1/10 roundness after I turned the OD. Because the way that this can manipulate and hold the material, it creates a center line. So what I forgot to show you here are the chips that we've tested on the oscillation cutting. I'll get back to this. We have some chips. This was 5150 material, unleaded. So this material was extremely stringy. We could not get it to break a chip. We were feeding this at 8 thousandths per revolution. Once we added the oscillation cutting, you can see the difference in the chips. They break it into nice 6s and 9s, which is exactly what any operator and machinist wants. We also have another sample here from 304 stainless steel. Another very gummy material that's hard to break. This was a cutoff. We were using a cutoff tool here. This was the chip we were getting initially. This is the chip we were getting with oscillation cutting. You break it into nice coils, just the way you want. So that's what I have on the SmartFlex guide bushing, oscillation cutting, and the B0386 Mark III. One more thing we wanted to mention is RemSales offers a solution called MachineMetrics for data collection and data retrieval. This comes free on any of our Swiss machines for the first 2 years, as long as the warranty is valid. We actually can monitor your machine remotely. This is a sign-in process. If you guys want to sign up for it when you purchase a new machine, you can sign up for it. If you don't want to sign up for it, you do not have to. But we do install it on every machine, and that's to help us service you better. And what we're trying to do is eliminate the sales calls or the service calls that are unnecessary, and try to troubleshoot things via desktop. Before we send a service engineer in, we can send them with the correct parts instead of coming out, finding out what parts we need and making multiple trips and more downtime for you guys. So what we're trying to do is speed up that process. If you guys have any questions about MachineMetrics, Jeff over here is right over here in the corner, and he can answer any questions you may have in further detail for MachineMetrics. I encourage anybody to stay in the booth afterwards and ask any questions you may have about oscillation cutting or the SmartFlex guide bushing or any of our products that we have here in the booth. Again, I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you very much.